Um, gonna do my Monday Night Raw review. The final Raw under Vince. Nia Jax returns, but we couldn't get Johnny Gargano on TV. Also, the day we didn't think would come, the WWE sold to Endeavor, a new beginning of an end of an era. New beginning or end of an era. Yep. Anyway, this is we will talk about the news and rumors and the report that been Matt Riddle assault claim. He cries sexual assault at JFK Airport. Major AEW star set to retire. Probably Bryan Danielson. I I just want you guys to know I did not do a SmackDown or Collision because I didn't think it was worth it. I didn't think it was that good. A new man on Saturday, different without CM Punk. Um, Bloodline story is ice cold. We need Roman Reigns back on TV. SmackDown wasn't that good. And now that was Monday Night Raw, but we're gonna talk about it. I will show you guys the other podcasters like JD from New York, Solomon the Sound Off. He talking about the end of Santana and Ortiz. Kurt Angle's incredible story, the Kurt Angle Peacock documentary. Um, Saddam Hayden threatened Andre the Giant. The card early for WrestleMania 40. Why this week is historic for WWE? Could Style be next for Roman Reigns? What are they even doing with the bloodline? Um, end of an era. Now NXT is on tonight right now. Today's Tuesday. I'm only gonna talk about one night Raw really. We know that Becky Lynch and Tiffany Stratton for the NXT Women's Championship. We have Wesley and Dragunov winner faces Carmelo Hayes for the NXT Championship. Tyler Bate versus Asim for the NXT Global Heritage Invitational match. Akira Gozawa and Nathan Fraser for the NXT Global Heritage. We have Dana Brooke and Lion Valkyrie. The Creed brothers and Malik versus Edith. Um, there might be a there may be a fatal four-way tag team, I think, or I think an eight-man. I don't know. Drew Gulak is in this match. Great. All right. All right. Let's see what this is. It's on commercial, so might as well see. Judy from York can be on. Cut here. I don't think this guy's worth so and so money. It's gonna be very interesting to follow because at one point or another, you would think that WWE's gonna just throw money at Drew McIntyre, someone like Drew McIntyre or an Edge on the roster. I don't think it's gonna be that willing anymore. So, when CM Punk becomes a free agent, that obviously takes it up a notch, and you're gonna talk to and have discussions. All right. Today, they were all over Wall Street, and TKO is now a ticker on the New York Stock Exchange. Like, don't let anybody fool you. Vince is still in charge. That's one of the things I want to talk about. And somehow he had to, I guess, Triple H factor her into plans. Yeah, and that's going to be. We'll talk about that a little bit later. I don't find that to be a fucking positive at all for the women's division. But what is he going to do? If Vince wants something, what is he going to do?
Right, and the thing here is that Dana runs UFC. Ari Emanuel doesn't step into that type of stuff. There's the big thing about TKO is the business side of things. That's what the big thing is here. Vince is going to do the WWE stuff with his other people that are surrounding him. And Nia Jax's return does scream Vince McMahon, no doubt about it. And then it's Triple H's job to fit her into the plan. And a lot of people might not like it. Was it my cup of tea? No. But Rhea has literally decimated everybody on that Raw roster. So this is a new opponent for her who she's going to overcome, her being Rhea. So we'll see what happens. But is it something that's groundbreaking? Am I excited for the return? Not yet, not really. But we'll have to wait and see what happens.
Yeah. We'll touch upon Nia Jax a little bit later. This WWE sale thing has kind of overtaken everybody's discussion in the IWC. And like you said, Drew, Ari Emanuel has already talked about the business side of things first and foremost. He's already talked about cost cutting. He's already talked about budget cuts. I know for a fact that there are certain departments in WWE that will no longer exist. When that will be, it could be this week, it could be next week, it could be next month. We don't know. But they're not going to need a marketing department if they have a marketing department of their own over on Endeavor. They're not going to need a social media department if Endeavor has their own social media department, so on and so forth. So I hope that those folks that work in Stanford out of Titan Tower have been given, and they have been given enough time to go and go look elsewhere and apply to jobs elsewhere. They saw the writing on the wall, and they have an easy out if they want it, if they didn't really enjoy or see where this was going and they didn't want to be a part of it. But obviously we're going to see those divisions cut. Does this affect the active roster? Do we see budget cuts going down the line on the active roster? Because I know once upon a time WWE was not frugal at all about spending money. I mean, they were throwing out bombs to keep some talent. And the reason why they did that is to keep them away from AEW. I think FTR was making, I don't know, I don't know what the ridiculous number was that they threw out to FTR before they signed with AEW. I think it was like 800,000, 900,000. I mean, the OC was making like $900,000 per each guy. It's like they can't be giving out those contracts anymore. So do you see with Ari Emanuel talking about budget cuts, does that affect the active roster on top of what we know in Titan Tower?
I don't think that you will see like as much slashing as you guys are, talking about. I'm not talking about you, JD. I'm talking about what I see all over the internet.
Yeah.
I do believe that the spending, I don't think the spending is going to be capped in any way, shape, or form. I think the downside guarantees have changed. And what that means is that, guys were guaranteed a certain amount of money. That's all changing for a certain amount of dates per merch, everything else like that. So that's all changing. The big ticket, draws like Roman and Brock and everything else, they're not going to mess with their money. They're going to continue to pay. They might even get a little more. Guys like, Gallows and Anderson, who I think we're making about $925. Do I see them making that type of money again? Probably not. But here's what's going to be so appealing to talent. Like, hey, listen, you want to be part of this? You want to go over there? And, maybe. And that's what's appealing about WWE right now is WWE's doing record business. So we'll see. The department stuff, yeah, you're right. The only difference is that I don't think Endeavor and UFC are going to ever have the same model that WWE has, even though UFC does run like one show a week, one event a week sometimes, and there's a pay-per-view, I believe, once a month or maybe once every like 21 days. But WWE's live every week, twice a week.
Yeah.
And then they're in Orlando once a week.
Depending on who you talk to, I mean, the creative could always be better. The creative is kind of lacking.
I don't think he gave anybody anything. What are your thoughts on this?
I don't know. I've seen a couple of people saying that Nick Khan buried him and takes the fucking money. How much of a hypocrite he's big name at WrestleMania. I mean, don't you think that's a conflict of interest at some point?
To a certain extent, I think they're two different business entities, and I think they'll be run as such. Now, obviously, we've had this. I mean, people could say, hey, Brock Lesnar's making $6 million a year, but he wasn't making that in UFC. I think it's all about the drawing power of said, all of a sudden you build yourself a good, win-loss record, JD, and mixed martial arts to get signed by the UFC. Your first fight, you're not going to make $1 million out of the gate. CM Punk had a lucrative UFC deal because he was CM fucking Punk, guys.
Yeah.
I mean, Brock Lesnar came over because he was Brock Lesnar. Randy Couture back in the day could went to WWE and made a boatload of money. Look at Floyd Mayweather. Money Mayweather made a ton of money in boxing and then made a quick payday with WWE. It's all about your name value. JD's not pulling in, 4 viewers. The man's got, I believe we're at what? Almost 2,000, 1665 right now. So JD will get paid differently than Joe Schmo from Ron Conquer. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So talent like Cameron Grimes, when they're a free agent, isn't going to be getting mega money deals. And, who's to say LA Knight, how far apart WWE and LA Knight are on money? That's the big story there with him. I mean, all of it's going to depend on seniority, strong power, star power, what you've done within the WWE family. I mean, a lot of these different factors are going to come into play when someone's going to have to get paid at the end of their contract.
Right. And basically what we're seeing right now, from what I believe it was, I want to say it was Sean Ross Sapp in Fightful. It seems as if, Prince Nana was re-signed by AEW, and it seems like LA Knight and WWE are working on a contract extension worth a lot of money, because LA Knight's making a lot of money for WWE with things merch.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting, man. You got guys like LA Knight. You got talent out there like Edge. Drew McIntyre has been a highly, controversial figure as far as what he's going to do next. Who's to say that WWE is going to be handing out big money contracts to keep this talent? Who's to say that Endeavor's not going to step in and say, hey, well, wait a minute, we want a cost, cut here. I don't think this guy's worth so-and-so money. It's going to be very interesting to follow, because at one point or another, you would think that WWE is going to just throw money at Drew McIntyre to keep someone like Drew McIntyre or an Edge on the roster. I don't think it's going to be that willing anymore. So, when a CM Punk becomes a free agent, that obviously takes it up a notch, and you're going to talk to and have discussions with CM Punk first and foremost before you talk to a fucking Drew McIntyre or an Edge, I would believe.
Well, I would agree with you. I mean, that's like, with the example we were using when we picked off the show, Aaron Rodgers is the Jets' #1 priority because he's Aaron freaking Rodgers. Yeah. So I think if CM Punk is viewed as priority #1, then he's going to get pushed to the top of the list. And I think this is where that board of directors from TKO will have that discussion. And if Ari Emanuel and Endeavor is willing to foot the bill, it's all obviously one now. But if Ari Emanuel is like, this is what I want, can we get this done? And the locker room is accepting of it, yeah, I think it gets done. It's just a matter of how much and for how long.
Everybody's going to want to make some money. Service, whatever that fee is, $9.99, $10.99, $11.99, ESPN, Disney, legal streaming.
I've never really said this publicly, but I'll say it here, and this might make waves. I think, shout out to the 1808 watching right now. Let's get that to 2000. I think WWE saw this move years down the road, and I think what they've done, they being WWE, is they've kind of programmed us $1 a month, and I'll split it with somebody for $25 a month, absolutely, for the major five. But if you're going to ask me to shell out, $35, even in a split for a fast lane, and the card is next to nothing, no thanks.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with what you said, and I know I talked about this a few months back when this was a topic of discussion. From a fan perspective, because Drew and I are both obviously fans of WWE, coming from me, who's watched the product since I was 4 years old, I would have no problem shelling out to buy WrestleMania or a Royal Rumble or a SummerSlam, because you know what you're going to get. And I think WWE has done good by the fans to make those events for the first time in a while, WrestleMania excluding, but WrestleMania usually is all hype and all fluff with the card. I felt like this year was the first year in many, many, many years where they actually delivered with the hype and the card. Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, SummerSlam, Money in the Bank, and their international endeavors have all delivered this year. So I would have no problem shelling out a $50, $60, $70 on an ESPN Plus to watch those major 4 or 5 shows. Now, I would agree that if you're going to move Fastlane and these other B-level pay-per-views to another streaming service, I think that would be the ideal situation, and I hope WWE does venture down that path. But the thing is, if they are going to charge for everything, which is a huge possibility, the creative is going to need to be upped significantly to offset the price of these shows, because I can't see how they warrant a $70 price tag for a fucking 6-match show that basically feels like a 3-hour Monday Night Raw. Nobody's going to want to do that. Even if, like you do, you split with your friends and you got people over, even at that, it's still asking a lot.
Well, and I agree with you. And I think, again, how I would handle this, if I was in charge of this stuff, like I said, I would sell my B-level pay-per-views, the non-WrestleMania, SummerSlam, Royal Rumble, Survivor Series, and let's just throw Money in the Bank or whatever stadium show internationally they're going to do on a, $69.99 type of pay-per-view stuff. The B-level stuff, you cannot ask, in my opinion, you can, but I don't think you'll see a massive return to ask fans to spend $69.99 or $59.99 for a Fastlane, a Payback, et cetera, et cetera. Not to mention, again, guys and girls, the business model is different here. I understand that UFC and Endeavor and ESPN Plus kind of have this deal, but you can bet on UFC. It's the fight game. People can make money off of that. It is a big fight feel every time somebody has a fight in the UFC. There's so many different divisions. They don't have network television weekly that is, or even on cable, that is storyline driven. This is two completely separate entities of business, and I think WWE will treat their product as such because they know their fan base better than Endeavor and UFC. And I think, again,
here we go.
SummerSlam and WrestleMania might be the first two that they separate from the rest of their pay-per-views. Maybe they keep the rest together. That would be my suggestion. That would be my business plan. I would not take every pay-per-view premium live event off of whatever streaming platform we're on and try and get fans to pay for it.
Yeah.
All right. Very sorry about that. Welcome back. Like I said, we're going to listen to JD from New York and Andrew Baydala talk about the sale of WWE to Endeavor. Here we go.
We have a ways away with that. I think
I probably should. It's been like 16 minutes. I probably should have did my introduction like I usually do. I just got my live stream up and over, but like I said, this is Mr. Blackhammer 2021. Doing my live stream. Now, before we talk about Monday Night Raw that happened last night and NXT that's on right now, we're gonna listen to my favorite podcaster, Jenny from New York, and his friend Andrew, and then we'll talk about the news and rumors, Nia Jax returning, Matt Riddle having the sexual claim assault that happened. Yeah.
Peacock and the WWE partnership ends.
Make sure you guys hit that like button, leave a comment, please subscribe to my channel. My video is sponsored by Solomon Third, JD from New York, Fightful Pro Wrestling, Good Network Commentaries, Just Alec, the Wrestle Talk, the Wrestling Inc. Did you guys enjoy this video?
In 2025, and then I think UFC and ESPN ends in 2026. So I don't know what's going to happen, or maybe vice versa, one or the other. It's like a year apart, but we still have a ways away. We got all this year, we got all next year, and then 2025, Peacock and WWE will enter negotiations if they stay, if they go. I do want to ask you about the news that WWE may not be with Fox next year. Have you heard any rumblings about that? Because I've seen, some heavy discussion on social media today that people are insinuating that WWE is not going to be picked up by Fox. Fox, I think Nick Khan is looking for $3 billion, something along those lines, which he's going to end up getting no matter what. If Fox is not going to give it to him, Nick Khan's going to get it somewhere else. But I think what started all this conversation off was that Ryan Satin's podcast was canceled. And something like that dropped out of nowhere, which is a Fox affiliate, is being looked at as a bad sign between WWE and Fox's partnership. What do you make of that?
I don't think Ryan Satin's podcast or anything else will have a direct correlation in terms.
Well, maybe he just sucks.
I do.
I said it. My opinions are my opinions, not true. So I just wanted to get that out there.
I think that.
Yeah.
I think that what we're seeing is Nick is going to be the savvy businessman, Nick Khan, that he always has been. He's going to get the most value for his entity, and his entity right now is SmackDown, which ends in the the TV streaming deal. The rights deal ends in October of 2024. So I truly believe that the window opens soon. So I believe that if Fox comes with the biggest offer, Nick will go and WWE will go back to Fox. But if Disney and Amazon Prime, who I've seen have been rumored, want to get into the streaming game, Netflix, they have loved the success of what they've done with Quarterback and all this other stuff. They were heavily linked into possibly getting.
Well, I mean, let's be real. I mean, if they want to get into the streaming service, their Love Is Blind experiment was a fucking failure, man. They got to fix that shit ASAP.
Right. So I mean, I do believe there'll be multiple suitors for WWE. $3 billion is a heavy price tag. Depends on how long the deal is for. But what did they get last time? They got a lot of money. So I think it was $5 million a year or something like that, right?
Yeah,
$25 million a year.
Well, they're making $1 billion from Fox, right? What is it?
Right.
$1 billion from Fox. They're making $1 billion from NBCU. They're making
right.
near $1 billion with the Saudis. That's $3 million in revenue right there.
Right.
So he wants to go from 1 billion to 3 billion. I mean, how does he justify going from 1 billion to 3 million? I mean, yeah, the ratings on SmackDown have been great, but that's when Roman is there. When Roman's not there, I mean, the show really doesn't feel the same at all. I mean, it's downright unwatchable, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, they got 205 million from Fox a year for SmackDown. So that's, I mean, I could see them getting anywhere from 400 to 500 million a year for 1 year. So it'd be interesting to see what they do there. 3 billion is, man, it's gonna be tough, but I mean, if they could get a 6-year deal, yeah, they get it done.
Yeah. Does this up the ante for AEW? Do you think because Nick Khan wants to do 3 billion, maybe he gets 2 billion, maybe he gets 2.5, he gets to 3 billion, maybe? Does this up the ante for AEW? Do they get the money that they're seeking as well because WWE is going to get it?
I think that it's kind of like when a sports contract happens for a position, you know, a quarterback gets, you know, Joe Burrow gets whatever guaranteed. Patrick Mahomes is going to want something close to that when his contract's up. I think, you know, if AEW could see what WWE is going to get, I think that's beneficial to them so that they can be like, well, hey, they got this. I understand we're not WWE, but we're still pulling in this type of ratings. And again, for everything that AEW and people want to slam on them for, they're still doing really good ratings. It's not what you would want. We don't see the growth and everything else like that you would like to see. But time after time, it's a consistent audience. And yes, it's the same audience, but it's still consistent, which is hard to do in today's television landscape. So I think AEW would be just fine with their deal whenever they do get it. Do I think it's going to be massive? I'm not sure on that. But I mean,
without Punk there now, I mean, it's really up in the air, honestly.
Listen, I think if AEW gets 365 million for a year, I mean, that's a lot. You know, that's a lot. So do I think they could get $100 million a year for 5 years and get a $500 million deal? Yeah, I think that's possible. They could maybe even get 150 and maybe break into the $700 million television deal. I don't think AEW is getting $1 billion, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, we will obviously keep a close eye on that. That's also coming up very soon as well. Another money-making endeavor here mentioned by Nick Condrew was the fact that WWE and UFC potentially are going to be holding some events in the same city on the same weekend. He says TKO could bring the two promotions to tourism authorities as a package deal and get paid to bring both to a jurisdiction. Site fees have already become a revenue stream for UFC and WWE. Now, that's a smart move because I know, like you mentioned earlier, WWE, I believe, with Backlash, they got paid from the Tourism Bureau in Puerto Rico, $1.5 million. I don't know what they paid for Cardiff or Cardiff paid for WWE. I know WrestleMania's bid on, Royal Rumble's now being bid on, SummerSlam's bid on. I mean, just by the pay-per-view name that WWE holds with some of their major shows that have been 20, 30 years, Drew, I mean, this is a fucking no-brainer.
Oh, I mean, it's 100% a no-brainer. Here's the deal, you know, UFC 296, I believe, is in the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, and that's in December. I don't know if they've announced where 297 is going to be. I would assume that would maybe be in January. Maybe 298 is in a location next to the Royal Rumble. That's an attractive destination. Maybe the Rumble's headed to Florida, for instance, and maybe we're going to have Fight Night or a pay-per-view Saturday and the Royal Rumble on a Sunday.
Yeah, I like that. And that's a big deal there.
Yeah, and I think, you know, you could attract some fans there. I think some will just come in for the WWE show. Maybe they pass on the UFC fight, and then you have some who are just there and they're like, I want to be entertained again. Let's go Sunday. Maybe the adults have a night out on Saturday night at the UFC fight and they take their kids to WWE on Sunday.
Yeah,
it's smart business. And they don't know if it's going to work or not, so they'll have to see. I know that there was a lot of burnout in terms of like fan, overage and the fans like return business for that Backlash pay-per-view, even though they were packed. And I believe there was something else that WWE had 2 nights in a row. Was it a Money in the Bank? Yeah, they were in London back to back, right?
Yeah, it was SmackDown and then Money in the Bank.
Which both sold well, but there was some burnout in terms of like fans where they felt like it was just a lot.
Yeah, and we'll talk about burnout too, because that's a big topic of discussion as it pertains to AEW and what they have coming up here in New York City for Grand Slam. More money making ventures here for TKO, Drew. I do believe, now this is just me speaking. I don't know how you feel about this. More sponsored matches. I do think that we're going to get more sponsored matches with WWE, especially now being partnered with Endeavor like Cinnamon Toast Crunch, Mountain Dew, and whatever else they want to shill out there. I know they got the big logos during matches. I think it was Rhea Ripley and Raquel Rodriguez at the last pay-per-view. That Cinnamon Toast Crunch everywhere. And then obviously, the Bray Wyatt and LA Knight match at the Royal Rumble, Mountain Dew Pitch Black. Do we start to see more sponsored matches? Do we start to see advertisements on the ring mat like WCW used to do? I know AEW does it with DraftKings and so on and so forth. Maybe some advertisements on wrestlers' gear. I know Brock Lesnar was a big Jimmy John's guy, and he had a bunch of different advertisements on his shorts. Do we start to see more of that? And do you think that if it does happen, the wrestlers will get a cut out of that?
I think brand integration is going to be more prevalent here in both companies. It's really prevalent in UFC right now. I mean, it's right in your face. It's everywhere. It's on the mat. It's on the cage. It's everywhere. Yeah. I think you could start to see some of that with WWE. The Cinnamon Toast Crunch match we saw at Payback between, it was sponsored, the Mysterio Austin Theory match. So I think that we're going to see more of that. Yeah, I think, it's just they're going to pop a logo on it. Yeah. Maybe able to get a commercial and a clip from it and everything else like that. So yeah, I think that's not going to go away. Do I see wrestlers come? Possible.
Do we see integration from UFC talent on WWE TV and WWE talent on UFC TV?
Absolutely, 100%. You will see John Jones at WWE events. You might even see him special referee or something that extent. You will see Connor. And vice versa. You'll see WWE talent sitting front row at UFC events. Maybe some WWE talent will walk some UFC guys out to the cage, or girls. We've already seen that, so it's going to be more prevalent now. It's going to be, that's the word of the day, prevalent. But it's going to be more in your face now more than ever, because now it's one pot and one bag of money.
I know some fans are living in a fantasy realm.
Well, the superstars,
I don't really see much of the show changing. I wish it would change for the better. I would like to see a little bit more adult-style content on WWE programming, but I know we're not going to get that. It is possible, but I don't think we're going to get it. What I mean by that, Drew, and a lot of people feel like, being that WWE is now merging with UFC, it's got the potential to be a little bit more adult. Maybe we see more blood. Maybe we see a little bit more physicality, a little bit more adult-themed situations. Do you see WWE adopting any more of a harder style with Endeavor, or, like I said, are the fans living in a fantasy realm thinking that this is all possibility?
I think it's a fantasy, but it's also reality. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword. I think the fantasy is if you think you're going to see this on Raw and SmackDown, that's not happening. You want to know why? Because they have sponsors that sponsor the television shows, and they also need to adhere to guidelines so that they can be a cross, that they can hit every age demographic. They don't want to, seclude themselves from something, whether it be the 18 to 49 or something else. They're going to try and appeal to the masses. And they have sponsorships and they're publicly traded. So no. Do I think the television product for Raw, SmackDown will have more blood and guts? No. Your premium live events, though, I think all bets are off.
Well, I mean, if you're charging $64.99 for a premium live event, I mean, I think we kind of, as a fan base, deserve that type of style and that harder edge. Now, I know they're still going to have their sponsors. They're going to have their Mattel sponsorships. They're going to have their Connor Cures and, the Cancer Awareness Month in October and all these other things that they got going on throughout the year. I mean, they don't want to ruffle any of those feathers, but I think if you're charging $64.99 for a show, I think I want to see a little color in my matches.
Yeah, and again, we have 2,022 people watching this right now, and they're here to be entertained. So what I want is to be entertained as well. So if you want me to shell out $50 to watch a show, I want to be entertained. But we've kind of been away from the whole blood and gut stuff from WWE for a while. And when it happens now, it's like, holy shit, what's going on? So do I think it happens on premium live events?
He's going to be the end-all, be-all. Like I mentioned in the beginning of mixture of three would be running WWE. And you can sit there and tell me that I got a boner for Vince McMahon and Emanuel. And the reason why I sold it to Ari Emanuel is because he knew that he was in a safe space with his good buddy for 22 years. I just feel like he's untouchable now and he can do whatever he wants because Ari Emanuel's going to let him do what he wants. He already said that the deal was not going
So, and it's crazy to think that, but he really is. Do I think that Vince McMahon is going to go absolutely nuts and like take back his company and stuff like that? There's always a possibility. I just don't see it. I think Vince McMahon is smart enough to understand. I think Vince McMahon sees when he is not in direct control of everything, how well the ticket sales are, how well the creative is. I think he stays out of the weeds, as he liked to say, he liked to coin the phrase. But I do think Vince is going to continue to oversee the bloodline, Brock Lesnar,
Cody.
Yeah, probably Cody and some other things. I mean, that's just what it is. I would be concerned too if the product starts to really dip creatively. I think Ari Emanuel and that board will be quick to just be like, "Hey Vince, this shit sucks. We need to go back to what we were doing or what you were doing 6 months ago because the product was through the roof."
Now, do you think it's going to get to a point like that? Because do we know if they even know what goes on over there? Do they know about what happens on TV? Do they know of anything that happens on Raw and SmackDown? Is it going to get to a point where they're going to have to get involved? And do they know how to get involved?
Well, I think they're going to look. The numbers never lie. So if the ticket sales are down and the ratings are down, they're going to say, "What the hell's going on here?" Then they'll probably start to pay more attention. I would assume, and I mean, I can't say this for a fact, but I would assume that this is bad, whatever. And I'm sure they're not reporting to Vince McMahon or Paul Levesque, but I'm sure. Yeah, I just think we need to give it. It's all started the trend. Like, let's ask you.
The way we see it now, inevitable. Because I coined the phrase, it was never about the sale of the company. All the way to December, and this was calculated. This was like a fucking sniper on the rooftop waiting to pick his target off, and that's exactly what Vince McMahon did. And now you're seeing the result of it. So to answer your question, no, I'm not surprised. He sold 51% of the company to a friend of his that he's known for over 20 years. If Vince wanted to sell the company, Drew, I do feel like Vince would have sold the company to, a Disney or an NBCU. Well, yeah, we want the WWE, but we don't want you in charge. We want Paul Levesque. We want your daughter in charge. And I think that hurt Vince McMahon's feelings, and he stayed away from those people. And then he went to Ari Emanuel because he knew exactly what he was going to get.
Vince and the WWE has the financial responsibility to share to the highest bidder because of their shareholders.
Yeah.
So we'll never know what Saudi
we'll never know.
Offered because realistically they didn't have a TV deal attached to it. They weren't based in the United States, so maybe WWE 3 years ago that WWE would be sold at Wrestle.
Now, NXT is on. Vince McMahon is back. Remember before like
Caleb Williams.
Hold on. Come on.
Have you seen these?
Come on now. Nobody commercials. I'm getting tired of these commercials, man. Alright.
Here, so I'm gonna.
Oh wait, what?
Right now, I'm gonna see what she can do.
Tony Khan tells CM Punk, return to we have perspective film. I'm sorry, it was Nick Khan talk CM Punk to return. SmackDown leaving Fox.
Hey, friendo, Steve here.
Hello.
SmackDown leaving Fox. Seriously, call your fat. The end of an era. Yeah. Now, Paul Levesque, Triple H, he's still the COO. He still had it created, but he's no longer a member of the board. SmackDown go 3 hours now. Major
WWE
change.
and UFC bringing their pay-per-views together for one big.
Yeah.
I would agree. And I think the
Alright, go
biggest
back to
thing to
this.
come out of this merger is that WWE is going to get more exposure, more eyeballs on different networks, channels, events that they had never even hoped and dreamed. I mean, when I watch Sunday football and I see a WWE ad for SmackDown on Fox, I'm blown away because when I was a kid, I never thought that would ever happen.
Yeah, you're gonna start seeing WWE on UFC shows now. You're gonna see little cross promotion on like I don't know when their next big show is.
ESPN.
You know, ESPN. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, it's just fucking weird to live through to see that type of thing. I didn't think we'd get there, but as far as the sale of the company, I do think that this was all pre-calculated.
Yeah, and you want to know what's crazy, JD? Let's talk about Monday Night Raw.
Yeah.
Man, is Jimmy Uso a star?
He's man. I said this last night when I talked about it. It is so fucking crazy how Jey Uso is on Monday Night Raw and he just walks out. He's got this whole thing with fucking waving the hands, the crowd, man. That picture, that camera shot by Kevin Dunn last night was fucking just eye-opening to me. It's like you watch that and then you look at what Jimmy Uso is doing without Roman Reigns on SmackDown. It's like that tale of two fucking cities.
Yeah, it's like the tale of two creatives. Jay's accelerating, and Jimmy was a big star with his brother, but it seems to me like, is Jimmy a star? I mean, is he? I mean,
He is, but he's not the star that Jey Uso's the cool Russo. That's the problem.
well, he's the cooler roost, I get that, but for me, it's like, what? The tale of two creatives, and I get it, it's a story. Trust me, I do, guys and girls who are in the chat, but for me and everyone watching, but for me, it's like Jay is produced and written so much better than Jimmy right now.
that's true.
Jimmy looks like the little bitch who, and I know it's the story, who needs his backup and all this other stuff. To me, I don't know. What do you think?
It's you know what it is? It's the fact that Roman Reigns is not there. Like Jimmy, listen, I love the Usos. Usos made the greatest tag team of all time. But when you have Jimmy standing alone on SmackDown without Roman, that to me, Drew, is like the Atlanta Braves benching Ronald Acuna for the rest of the season because they've already clinched a playoff spot. Like, why would you want to do that? It's like he's the MVP more than likely of the National League. No, Mookie Betts is not winning. No, sorry. But that's like benching Ronald Acuna, bro, for no reason. It's like WWE's benching Roman Reigns for no right. Like he's guaranteed vacation time, fine, but they got to realize that without Roman there, their star guy is missing, and everything else is suffering because of that. Like, what do you want him to do? What do you want Jimmy to do?
Yeah, and it seems like, again, it seems to me like Jimmy is headed right back to the bloodline, and it seems like what they're starting to tease, and again, I wanted your thoughts on this because me and you don't talk about what happens after the shows, you do your own review shows. It seems like the Judgment Day and the Bloodline are on a collision course, and I'm just hoping, because what we've seen from Jay has been very good on Monday Night Raw. I hope Jay's not a pawn in all of this. I want Jay to do his own thing for a while, and if Jimmy and the Bloodline are going to take on the Judgment Day at a War Games, for instance, Survivor Series, fine, but I think Jay needs to be so far away.
Yeah, I wish I had an explanation for you that made sense, and I don't want to sound like a dummy. Normally I'm a man of many words. I don't know where they're going with this. The only thing I could come up with is two things. One, AJ's getting involved. I do think that they're setting up, I think, a Roman Reigns upon return feuding with AJ Styles. He's going to need opponents. I don't know what. He's got to defend the title. Who's he going to defend the title against? There's nobody on SmackDown that he's going to defend the title against. I know they teased LA Knight. They're not going to do LA Knight because that's just going to put LA Knight in a shit situation. So maybe they do Roman and AJ Styles in the interim, and then they get Roman till 2024, and then they start building to Cody. But it may look like, Drew, that they're setting up a three-way War Games match with the Judgment Day, the Bloodline, and the New Hurt Business. I don't know what they're doing there. I don't know where Sammy and KO and Jey Uso fit into all that. It's very convoluted. And the fact that they did this shit with Jimmy and Jay, and Jimmy's on SmackDown, and we don't know his real direction. It just feels like WWE's turning their wheels and they don't really have a solid direction on where to go. Right, and that's what I'm saying. It seems like Jay is kind of integrated into this whole Judgment Day thing on Raw, and now we saw Jimmy get integrated into it too, and it's like, man, I hope they didn't just separate these two talents for this little bit to just have them go right back into the Bloodline and take on the Judgment Day at Survivor Series, because I like what they're doing with Jay. And the Jimmy storyline might not be for me, but I kind of get it. Like, he can't function without,
the other members of the bloodline. And it almost seems like
he may be trying to sway Solo from the bloodline in the end.
That's
He may be trying to infiltrate the bloodline and take Solo away from Roman because he doesn't have his other brother to lean on.
Yeah, but it's just the tale of two Usos.
Yeah.
I mean, Jay feels like a megastar, and Jimmy does not.
Well, the Jay story on Monday Night Raw feels a little bit more natural as well. It's like, all right, they got that shoe in there with him and Sammy and him and KO. They did business at WrestleMania, and the easy story is, well, you're over here. We're supposed to accept you, but I don't fucking trust you. You got to earn your stripes on Monday Night Raw. There's a whole locker room that doesn't want you here. There's a whole locker room that doesn't trust you. And then if they're smart, that could play into people getting kind of resentful against Cody Rhodes. And Cody Rhodes needs to be shipped to SmackDown, which leads to my next question. Who gets traded for Jey Uso? Because I do feel, and I think we talked about this last week, I still think that Cody Rhodes is the number one guy because it's just a great tie-in for people to be, not trusting Jey Uso, and then they're going to blame Cody for him being here because he continues to fuck up. So let's ship Cody away from Monday Night Raw because he was the problem all along by bringing Jey Uso.
We're about legitimately 2-3 weeks into Roman's absence of SmackDown. That's going to continue probably all the way through until November.
Yeah.
And everyone's already calling for Cody to go back or go to SmackDown because of the lack of star power, et cetera, or meaningfulness on SmackDown. I cringe at this because if Cody goes to SmackDown, who fills that void on Raw? Truthfully. I mean, you put Cody in any segment on Monday Night Raw, and it's kind of almost must-see TV. And he's done a lot of talking, Cody Rhodes. But when he's in a main event match, or even the 10 o'clock, segment, the 10 p.m. segment, to really kind of capture the audience so we can hook them till the 11 p.m. show close. I don't know who fills that void, JP. I think I get it. Like, you got a big star, and
instead of it being one guy, it's going to have to be a team effort and a collective effort on Monday Night Raw. It may work, it may not work. And I feel like with Cody going to SmackDown, the reason why I say this is because I'm in the camp of people who don't want to see Cody Rhodes win the Royal Rumble again for a second year.
Me too, but that doesn't mean that we're not booking for us. WWE, I mean, we are. WWE's not booking for us. So
Exactly.
I agree with that point. But what I found
I only have him win the Rumble one.
is that
I
they
want to see
kept the
weekly
Judgment
winners.
Day together.
I only give it for one. They either won or
They
lose.
kept the Judgment Day together, and they are brand both eligible now. All of them.
Yeah.
Because they're tag team champions. Dom's already been on SmackDown. Rhea shows up wherever the hell she wants. So basically, the Judgment Day can go to both shows and appear on television. They're one of the hottest acts. So they don't need to send one of them over in the trade. They just broke up a tag team that is two major single stars. You see Sammy going to SmackDown or Kevin going to SmackDown.
Why would you break them up?
Well, because they've already done it essentially with them dropping the tag team champions. And Sammy is Jay's only ally on Monday Night Raw. If Sammy gets shipped to SmackDown, Jay's on an island all by himself.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, they're not going to. I mean, Sammy may be a possibility. They're not going to send Gunther over there. They're not going to break up Imperium, Alpha Academy, none of those guys. It may end up being for Sammy. Sammy's a possibility. Drew McIntyre, maybe, but I mean, it's kind of boring. I don't know. And to go back to your earlier question about who's going to fill that void, if they want to move Cody in the interim to SmackDown, they'll be without Cody for October, November, December. We get to January. And I have been a big proponent of Gunther winning the Royal Rumble instead of Cody. What if we start talking about LA Knight winning the Royal Rumble and him going to Monday Night Raw as that star? Because his star is going to be brighter in January. And LA Knight winning the Royal Rumble to challenge Seth Rollins for the World Heavyweight Championship on Monday Night Raw. Would you think that would fill a void left by Cody?
I mean, it would definitely fill a void, but here's what I'll say to this. And no, I am not comparing the star power of the two. Disclaimer, I am not comparing the star power of the two. When Stone Cold Steve Austin won the King of the Ring in 96, his stock rose exponentially. And Stone Cold Steve Austin did not win his first world championship until March of 1998. That's 2 years. I would love to see LA Knight be a finalist in the Royal Rumble and lose to Gunther, and then have him win the Money in the Bank in 2024 and cash in and win, and that's when he gets his first world championship. The contract, the devil is in the details. Shout out to MJF. The contract that LA Knight is going to sign, or if he chooses not to, then he won't get shit in terms of a push. But once LA Knight signs that contract, we will start to see the official meteoric rise. They're kind of holding back on that.
Yeah, it could work in the opposite way too. He signs the deal, and then they're like, "Ha ha ha, we got you," and we don't really give you your push. They'll just take it away. We've seen that before. That's why I raised that question.
Sure, and I think that's possible. But what I'm saying to you is that I think Gunther is your surefire bet that I would pick to win the Royal Rumble, because him and Seth at 40, Gunther can destroy him. Gunther's stock has never been higher. Seth could take some time off. I've been hitting this. I've been milking this cow for a while now. Seth is going to take some time off after WrestleMania 40. That's my opinion. I could be wrong, but Gunther is the man to do that. And then Gunther could run roughshod over Monday Night Raw all the way through SummerSlam, and then LA Knight cashes in, and that's when we get it. Cody and Roman are going to have a date. Yeah, and that date is WrestleMania 40. How we get there, I'm not sure.
Gunther is an interesting prospect. I mean, I'm for, if you are asking me what I want as far as a Royal Rumble, it's not too early to start thinking about this because it'll be here before you know it. I am going with Gunther to win the Royal Rumble. I wanted him to win the Royal Rumble this year after lasting, how long did it last? An hour and 10 minutes or something like that, an hour and 7 minutes. Broke the all-time record. Longest reigning Intercontinental Champion. I mean, he's just fucking incredible. I would love for him to win the Royal Rumble this year. I do think that's...
Oh, what happened? Oh, come on.
Schedule your COVID, flu, and other vaccines today.
Get out of here.
Intercontinental Championship. Where does he drop it? How does he drop it? Who does he drop it to? I know we're getting a fourth match with Gable, but when is it going to happen? Are they going to do it at Fastlane? I said this last night. I wouldn't mind him holding the championship until possibly the Royal Rumble, and then like the old days, open the show with Gunther and Chad Gable. Have Chad Gable earn a match. Don't just give him one. Have him get some wins. Can they hold off for another 3 months before doing the match? Open the Royal Rumble. Give him the IC title to open the Rumble. And then Chad Gable wins it. Gunther goes on to the Royal Rumble, wins the Royal Rumble. So it's almost as if, even though he lost the IC title, it's like he's kind of trading one for the other and kind of upgrading to the World Championship.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't it isn't the same story all the time. It isn't the same path all the time. But WWE, what they like to do with the Royal Rumble winners, both the men and women, is kind of like hide them. Yeah, for like a month or two. They're not in high-profile matches. They're not dominating people, et cetera, et cetera. They're kind of just there. They're still on television, but they're not in big matches. They're not like dominating people. So I think Gunther could lose that Intercontinental Championship at Fastlane or even Survivor Series. He still is very prevalent on television, but he, is trying to rebuild himself back up. And Gunther did have an excellent showing at last year's Royal Rumble, kind of made him a made man. Now they've already made him the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion of all time. He's very dominant. They could have him lose, him being Gunther, the championship on one of these pay-per-views, premium live events, and then build him right back up into your Royal Rumble winner and off to the races at WrestleMania. And then I saw a question here. No, it does not look stupid if Gunther says to Seth Rollins, "I want you at WrestleMania," rather than Roman Reigns, just because our perception is the right perception that Roman's championship is the championship in WWE, but that doesn't matter. I mean, when, and I hate to use this person, but I will. No, I can't use it. Let me try to think. When Batista won the Royal Rumble, and the reason I didn't was because this was the first I didn't want to say was the person who won the Royal Rumble the year before Batista. You all know it, WrestleMania 20. Batista won the Royal Rumble. He went after Triple H's World Heavyweight Championship, which was the prominent title at that time. But everybody still wanted to be WWE champion, right? So I don't see that being a problem. Gunther being like, "I want the World Heavyweight Championship." Why not? I don't.
I mean, this is why I feel like they need to establish Cody before they make that decision, because I do kind of agree with that. Like, he should want to challenge Roman, but we know he's not going to. They could really kind of weave Gunther into saying that Rollins isn't a champion worthy of holding the championship. He hasn't defended the championship with honor, or some bullshit that I'm sure they'll spew with Gunther. But they had Charlotte Flair challenge Rhea Ripley for the NXT Women's Championship after winning the Royal Rumble. What difference does it fucking make?
Right, it doesn't. I think a lot of wrestling fans, unfortunately, read too much into that, and rightfully so to a certain extent. But creative doesn't give a shit. They're just going with the matches they need to get to.
Yeah. Do you think Gunther has outgrown the Intercontinental Championship? Do you think the championship is doing anything for him, or is he doing more for the title?
So, when Roman hit 1,000 days, I thought it was a ticking time okay, well, they're going to pull that championship off of Roman soon.
Yeah.
Where it happens and when it happens, who knows? I thought it would be SummerSlam against Cody. Didn't happen. So clearly they have a goal in mind, they being WWE. Same thing with Gunther. They made him the longest reigning Intercontinental Championship. I think it's a ticking time bomb. I think he has done more for that championship than any Intercontinental Champion has done in the past 15 years. So now it's time to elevate somebody else with that championship that Gunther has elevated by handing that person that title in a match. And I think Chad Gable is your guy to do that for. And I think Gunther does that at one of these premium live events because Gunther has outgrown that Intercontinental Championship. In my opinion, he needs to be a world champion.
Do you think fans should be concerned if Chad Gable beats Gunther and wins the Intercontinental title? What WWE is going to do creatively with Chad Gable and that title? Do you think that they should be concerned about WWE's direction? Because, you know, Gunther's a once-in-a-lifetime talent. They've kind of flaked on Chad Gable every now and then, on and off with him. Is WWE to be trusted now that Gable's kind of ascending this height of popularity and in-ring work? If he gets the title, do you trust WWE to do right by him in the title?
I think that's all on Chad and creative. I think when you go from the talent that Gunther is to a talent that Chad Gable is, obviously, you know, kind of different, but almost very similar in terms of in-ring ability. I think it's a great passing of that championship. It's not like this, you know, this is no offense, but it's not like Gunther is dropping that championship to the Miz in terms of like match quality. Those matches for the Intercontinental Championship, Gunther's matches were always must-see because of his talent and the absolute brutality at times that Gunther brought with his matches. So Gable's going to do the same thing. He's basically Kurt Angle light.
Yeah, I agree. I'm looking forward to that. Hopefully they give us what the community's asking for, a 30-minute Iron Man match.
I would love to see that. Do you think that Gunther's outgrown the IC title?
Yeah. He's ready for, or like I said, a Royal Rumble win, WrestleMania main event, a World Championship. I'm ready to see it. I think Monday Night Raw needs a great villain world champion.
I agree.
Yeah. Shifting gears to SmackDown here. One little note here. We mentioned LA Knight. Are we setting up LA Knight and John Cena as a super team against Grayson Waller and Austin Theory here? Is that the mega push that the fans are talking about as far as LA Knight is concerned?
Yeah, I think LA Knight and Cena are going to have a tag match, and then I think there might be seeds planted for a singles match down the road between John Cena and LA Knight.
Well, there you go. I can't wait to start hearing the people say LA Knight is still buried. He's in the ring with John Cena.
And I also think that Grayson Waller and John Cena might have a match together. I mean, Grayson is getting some insane rubs on his way to wherever they're headed. Edge and then Cena.
Yeah. Monday Night Raw. We mentioned Nia Jax. The last image of the final Vince McMahon era Monday Night Raw was Nia Jax. What'd you think of this last night?
Well, first of all, it's not the final I understand what you're saying, but Vince is not going anywhere. So it's the final WWE.
No, with Vince McMahon in control of the company.
Yes. I think it's a lot to do about nothing. I think that WWE knew exactly what they were going against, and you know, I think what they were looking for is impressions and everything else on social media and Twitter, and they got it with Nia Jax. Was it everything they could have hoped for? Probably not. Was it a miss for me? I want to see where they go with it. Rhea needs new opponents, JD, and whether or not we like Nia or we do, Rhea needs somebody else to beat, and Rhea's gonna beat Nia. And it's like, okay, how could this is an insurmountable object for Rhea. But Rhea's going to overcome this insurmountable object because she's the most dominant champion we've seen in a very long time for the women. And am I looking forward to seeing what happens? Not right now.
Do you want to know what my problem is here with this? And you are correct.
It's lazy.
You are correct. She does need opponents, but that falls on the creative team to build up new talent for Rhea Ripley. My problem is that they find these quick fixes and think, that's it. Oh, look, we solved the problem. No, that's not the case. I mentioned last night that they could find time to bring Nia Jax to television, but we haven't seen Johnny Gargano in 3 months. They can find Nia Jax TV time, but Drew, where is Candice LeRae? Why haven't they given any effort at all to any other woman? Candice LeRae, Indy Hartwell, Tegan Knox, Casey Catanzaro, Kaden Carter. I mean, there's so many women on that roster that with just a little tender love and care, a video package here, some fucking great matches, this and that. I mean, they could have Nikki Cross. They could have somebody, but they opt to bring back Nia Jax. who I feel like half the roster should take out an insurance policy because of what her previous history was.
I think again, I think your point is valid. I will say this: I think that we saw what Triple H would like to see Rhea do at Payback, and now I think we're seeing what Vince would like to see Rhea do at Fastlane. Yeah. And I agree. Well, come on, let's give me a little bit more Raquel and Rhea. Why are we stepping away from this so quickly? What's going on here?
Well, she's not. Raquel's not ready. I mean, she's got the charisma, bro, of fucking plain white wall.
Want to talk about a damn good wrestling match? Yeah. But this is something that has been cut and paste from WWE and Vince McMahon at times, which is get me a monster, let her beat her, let him beat him. So,
well, I will say Nia Jax looked physically impressive last night. She looked very good. So I'm not sure anybody's excited about the match, but Rhea and Nia, you give them 10 minutes to have a big hoss fight for the ladies. It might not end up being that bad. I don't know.
Yeah, listen, I try and find positives in a lot of things, but I don't have one here besides Rhea needs no comments. That's it. Sorry.
It's just as bad on SmackDown too. I mean, I don't know what they're doing over there, but whole different discussion for a different day.
Chelsea Green is right there. Is a comment here to the 2097 launching. No.
Right now, there's nothing on NXT really. I have to wait until I get more. Braun Breaker unfavorable attack on Braun Breaker. Should the Women's Tag Team Champion be retired? I think they're already retired. Oh, my bad. Hold on.
Again, so
I know, yeah, we won't touch that. I mean, I already talked about that, but
yeah.
Sucks that Matt Riddle is such a promising talent. He's a fucking great pro wrestler. It's just I wish he had everything else.
Well, he was still in the opening to Raw,
Yeah.
which is very telling to me. It just seems like they're probably going to tell Matt to cool down for a little bit. And I think that WWE sees the potential return in Matt. It's just, man, could you just stay here with us for a little bit?
Yeah. Maybe Randy Orton being back would be a good thing for him, Shifting gears to AEW, Drew. I know AEW has a few things coming up. We're about a week and a half away from Grand Slam here in New York City, Arthur Ashe Stadium in Queens. You read some news. I read some news today about this show that actually took me by great surprise. And a lot of fans online, why are you complaining about AEW, man? I mean, there are obvious problems with the product.
You got Samoa and Roderick Strong in the finals of a World Eliminator Championship.
I mean, I'm fine with that. I think that's intriguing television. My problem is with the fucking tournament. I mean, Nick Wayne should not be in the tournament. I mean, he hasn't even been here for half a cup of coffee. He's getting a championship opportunity in a tournament. Come on.
We really didn't even need the tournament. Truthfully, you could have just had Samoa Joe, continue to bully MJF and Roderick Strong. Hey, it's my.
All right, AEW. Since they're talking about AEW, now let me go back to WWE, do a quick review, quick rundown on last night Monday Night Raw. I thought Monday Night Raw was absolutely boring last night. I mean, Nia Jax returned again. I say again, who asked for that? Who asked for Nia Jax to return? Now this is how the show opened up with Jey Uso. Like I said, Jey Uso was mega over. He's doing this with the crowd. He had different entrance. His entrance is pretty good. Kevin Owens came out. Kevin Owens said, "You got a long way to go to trust me." Now we all know the history between these two. Back when Kevin Owens was wrestling a Roman Reigns for the title, and Jey Uso screwed him over a few times. And then we all know what happened earlier this year with KO and Sammy and the Usos. Now Jay and as you heard from JD and Andrew, there was a storyline here. Jey Uso has a lot of problems with everyone, with Drew McIntyre, Matt Riddle, Kevin Owens. Sami Zayn's cool, and telling everyone to give Jay a chance. So we got this segment, and after that we got a tag team match with Jey Uso, Kevin Owens against the Judgment Day, Finn Balor and Damian Priest. Jey Uso super kicked Kevin Owens by accident, and he got taken out, and then Judgment Day got the win. So they're setting up tensions here. Jey Uso had to get Kevin Owens to trust them. That's me the story. Hopefully, where we're going. That was the only thing really. We did get the Miz versus Akira Tozawa. This match went 3 minutes. I think the best match was Xavier Woods and Drew McIntyre. They had a very good match for 10 minutes. Now going into this match, both of guys were baby faces. Drew McIntyre is turning heel, definitely. He turned heel. Hopefully they have him feud with Cody Rhodes. Hopefully. And the other thing that was also good was Chad Gable and Gunther in this segment on Raw, where Gunther celebrates being the longest Intercontinental Champion in history in WWE. Chad Gable said he's gonna get a rematch. I don't know when they'll get the match. Maybe a fast lane. Ciampa could get a match. He came out and saved the Alpha Academy. And then we got this 6-man tag that was also pretty good. And I love the ending where Ciampa had Gunther in a submission that Johnny Gargano uses, and he made him watch at Chad Gable, locked in the ankle lock on Giovanni Vinci and tapped out. So maybe Ciampa, it could be Ciampa and Gunther, maybe a fast lane, and then they can do Gable and Gunther maybe at Survivor Series. Maybe. I think they will. Oh, also we did get Shayna Baszler beat. I think it was Shayna beat Chelsea, and then Piper came out. Zoe Snark, she gets Shayna back. They're setting up Shayna Baszler and Zoe Snark as a tag team, probably to take on Piper Niven and Chelsea Green. Well, there's no tag team, there's no division, there's no team that they can feud with, so we gotta come up with something. Because I think it's lazy. And again, Shayna Baszler in another tag team. Don't know why. Now the other thing, we did get Nakamura and Seth Rollins. Nakamura says, "I'll challenge you when I feel like it." He also attacked Ricochet. They did announce the match for next week, so we are getting that match. Cody Rhodes comes out in a segment. That was also one of the bigger things on the show tonight. What is Cody Rhodes gonna do? Are we gonna get an explanation of why he politicked Jey Uso to come to Monday Night Raw? That didn't happen. He came out, didn't say anything. He came out, he talked about Jey Uso. Bailey said nothing. Gets interrupted by Dominic Mysterio and Jerry Madonna. All just to have a brawl. He get beat up. He hit them with a crossbow, and that was it. What a waste. A lame. Cody Rhodes was an afterthought again on this show. He wasn't on last week. They advertised it this week as a big deal, but that was it. All just to have a nothing brawl. They were lame. They were lazy. And I said it before, I did not like, the crowd booing Dominic again. It felt like they're piping in the crowd chant, turn them on, turn them off. If that is the actual crowd booing Dominic, getting kind of annoying, getting really repetitive. It's not cool anymore. It's just getting annoying. With Dominic getting booed. Nobody cared about this segment with Cody and Dominic and JD Madonna. No one cared about Cody Rhodes wrestling Dominic again. And this time for the North American Champion, I don't want to see that. So the end of this show, we got Nia Jax returns. She cost Raquel her title match against Rhea. That was a pretty good match. So Nia came out of nowhere from the crowd, hit the Samoa drop on Raquel, and she, after Rhea hit the Riptide and won the match, Nia Jax hits with a headbutt, goes on the top rope, hits on Rhea Ripley, and that was it. Nia Jax is back. I think they said she was signed for a month. I guess we'll have to wait. And see. But Jesus, man, I thought the show was boring. There was nothing going on the show. Outside of Chad Gable and Gunther, the 6-man match was alright. Drew McIntyre and Xavier Woods pretty good match. That was it. The main event was okay. Nia Jax come back. Who asked for that? As they said, who gives a shit? Well, as for NXT, we do have Braun Breaker and Baron Corbin. Those two are gonna now feud. Don't know why.
Black Magic. Punk's influence, right? Where did it go? Did it go with him? If that's the case,
I made the video long enough. Might as well end it. If you guys want to see more, hit that like button. Leave a comment. Please subscribe to my channel. Let me know in the comment section below. Y'all want to see more? I think I will end this video because I think I can. I think that's all I can make today. I don't want to make it too long. Thank you for watching. Thank you for all the support. I'll be back with more. I will do AEW Dynamite on Wednesday and I'll do Friday this week. Just to see what happens. John Cena is going to be on Friday this week. He's in the Grayson Waller talk show. So, alright. I'll see y'all later.